Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Folks, when pro wrestling is at its best, I mean, when it is absolutely firing on all cylinders, it's not difficult to understand what's going on there. You know, you as the audience don't have to work too hard to figure out who are the people that we want to cheer, who are the people that we're booing, who are the bad girls and guys, who are the good girls and guys. It's clearly defined. And I got to tell you something. WoW Superheroes over the past 2 seasons has done such a great job. And I got to commend, folks like David McClain and also Jeannie Buss for building a roster of stars who the fans don't have to think too hard about who the good girls and who the bad girls are. I mean, we definitely know what's going on here, folks. This week, I have somebody who is she's taken the whole wrestling world by storm because she is just so cool, number one. She is so easy to root for, number two. And on top of that, it actually is who she is. She's really a good person. So, without further ado, welcome to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, Stephy Slays. How are you, Steffi?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And listen, I got to tell you, WoW Superheroes has really turned into what I like to call apartment television. I mean, you legitimately have to set your DVR or you have to make sure that you're home because when we have stars like Steffi Slays on TV, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's an event. Talk to us about what's going on here in WoW Superheroes for Season 2. Because last season, you were the rookie. You were just starting off. And I know that a couple of people were giving you a hard time and what have you because you were the new girl on the block. Has any of that changed for you in Season 2? Are you starting to get a little bit more respect from the folks in the locker room?
Yeah, well, honestly, that's something that I just don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I'm hoping that people are starting to realize my skills and my strength in the wrestling ring. But I feel like in this kind of industry, you're always going to have people who want to take you down no matter what the reasons are. And there's definitely a lot of people still in the past who are still trying to take me down. For example, Evelyn Maverick, she's one of them. And then there's definitely going to be new people coming in my way trying to take me down as well. So it's never ending story with that. I guess from my perspective is to just keep going and to keep pushing through and to show them that I do belong just as much as they do, and I will make it to the top eventually.
And I'm glad you mentioned her name. This Abilene Maverick, the governor's daughter, I know that she has a lot of experience in the wrestling world, and for some reason, it's like she's fixated on Steffi Slays. It's almost as if she's dedicating her time in WoW Superheroes to make your time as uncomfortable as possible. Dare I say, she's a bully. Well, what do you think her problem really is with you?
I honestly don't really know what she truly has against me. There are times where I think it's because, we're both from Texas or because I'm very, very young, coming into the industry at age 17. I really don't know what her problem is. Maybe she just sees me as somebody who's not capable to have the amount of strength that I do in the ring. And I mean, you would look at me when I first came in, a 17-year-old who, maybe in the time I didn't know what I was walking into, and I probably did look weak. I would admit I personally thought I looked weak. So for them, it was just an easy target to scare away because, of course, the less opponents you have, the higher chance you're going to get to reaching the top. So definitely she saw me as an opportunity to try to take down. And unfortunately, it's not going to be an easy fight for her.
Well, it sure isn't because you've done a great job of holding your own there. And it's funny because here in season 2, you aligned yourself with another person who knows how to deal with bullies. And we're talking about Keita Rush. Not only does she have the Bully Busters gym, but you and Keita have put together a great tag team known as the Bully Busters. Talk to us about this relationship that you and Keita have in this Bully Busters tag team.
Yeah, definitely. So, like you mentioned, she has the gym for bully busting. She comes from a bullying experience background as well. Hers was more of a physical type of bullying. People broke her ribs and then popped out her shoulder, broke a lot of things physically. And compared to me, where I was mentally broken and emotionally broken, so we both agreed that that's equally the same, because bullying is bullying, and whenever you are going through depression or some kind of hurt or, brokenness, it's all the same no matter whether it's mentally or physically. And we decided to come together, and in that time when we did decide, I was still in high school and I was still getting bullied, and of course she saw that I was getting bullied as well, so she saw that as an opportunity to approach me and say, hey, I've been through what you've gone through, and, I kind of want to give you advice and show you how to become a better person and to ignore all those voices and to prove yourself physically that you can do this and be here. She is a few years older than me, so for her it was more of like a mentor situation to help me out. And of course she has a great heart, and we're great friends who share the same experience. So that's really, it was an easy matchup for both of us to say, hey, let's get together, let's become a tag team, and let's see how far we can do this together and hopefully get the belt.
Well, and you said that right. I mean, definitely, it's fun because season 1, Stephy Slays had a lot of support from the fans right from the beginning. I mean, it was very obvious that they could feel your positive energy, and they were feeding off of that, and that's why they were rooting for you so hard. Even in the beginning, when you had a little bit of a losing streak, it was almost as if, because they saw you fight so hard and never give up, that made them want to support you more. So to see you and Keita Rush combine and have this Bully Busters tag team here in season 2, I'm seeing signs in the crowd that say Bully Busters, and young and old, everyone's jumping up and down. They can't get enough of you two. So you said it just now. Are you focused on the WOW Tag Team Championships? Is that a goal for you that you both have set there?
Yes, definitely. That is the ultimate goal, is to definitely get the gold. But in the process of doing that, we want to challenge ourselves. We want to push ourselves. No matter what the results are, we have to be happy with how far we've grown, because, it is a self-growing challenge as well. That's a personal battle that you have to overcome every single day. There's not going to be a lot of victories, and you got to be able to accept that. You got to be able to say, okay, yes, I did lose this time around, but that's not going to stop me. I'm not going to let this define me. I got to keep fighting. I got to keep going. And it takes a lot of passion and determination to have that kind of mindset, and you have to be strong. And for me, dealing with, a mental problem, for me, that's my actual personal goal, is to not let the negativity and the disappointment stop me from doing what I love. And I truly love the sport, and I just got to keep pushing myself and keep going. Yes, I would love to have the belt, and so would Keita, but overall is our health and happiness and strength for ourselves.
We're talking to Stephy Slays of WOW Superheroes, and once again, Access TV, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Saturday night, folks. Definitely got to check it out. See some of the best wrestling action that you will see from around the world there. Now, talk to us about something here, Steffi, because your in-ring style is just really, really good. I mean, it's clear that you've been trained properly there. You know when it's time to go to the mat. You know when it's time to jump up on the turnbuckle and do some flying moves and what have you. How did you prepare yourself for this? Because I'm sure you were a big-time athlete in school and growing up and what have you, and you're still in great shape. how did you prepare to actually step into the ring?
That's a funny story because honestly, I have never been athletic in my past at any point. I've never played sports. The most I've ever done was PE, which that doesn't really count. But no, when I first started wrestling, it was more, I found it by accident. Sophia Lopez, who is the attorney for WOW, is actually a great friend of my mom, and she saw that I have reached rock bottom in my life to the point where I literally would spend every single day in bed and I would not get up for anything. I completely lost myself. I was in a really, really dark place to the point where I felt like I no longer wanted to live because that's how badly it affected me mentally with the bullying. Just people telling me that I can't do it, that, you know, people telling me that I don't belong here. Why do you even exist? Like, you shouldn't even be here. So hearing that over and over and over again by multiple people, I just felt like maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here and nobody loves me, nobody cares for me. So why should I care for myself and love myself? So Sophia, she recommended me to start doing something physical with myself to help myself get out of depression and start bringing positivity and life back into me. And it has been one of the greatest advice and recommendation I have ever taken and actually followed through with. I actually decided to go to the training center, and that's where I met Selena Majors, and it took just one day of training for me to completely fall in love with wrestling. And since then, my life has changed. I felt a flame just fire underneath me, and definitely life did come back. I felt like I had a reason to live again. Pure happiness and joy, and I just wanted it so badly. It's a feeling that I just can't explain, but I love the feeling that wrestling gave me. It just definitely gave me life again. And I was a little 17-year-old who had a spaghetti body, very, very unflexible, unstrong, just noodly. And it was definitely one of the hardest and longest journey I have ever taken to become any kind of athlete. Like, I didn't know what a diet was. I didn't know how to work out properly. But thank God I had Selena Major there as my coach and trainer to push me through. And it wasn't easy. I had multiple breakdowns in the middle of the ring in front of Selena. I would start crying and telling her, I don't belong here. You know what? I'm a complete loser. This is not for me. You're putting your hope in something that's never going to happen. And wow, she has never let me down. She would not take any of that for an answer. She said, you are worthy. You belong here. You deserve this kind of lifestyle. You deserve to have a great life. And I'm going to make sure that you accomplish this life with pure happiness and joy. And she did. She helped me get through it. And, you know, of course, I'm still learning. I'm still constantly going to training. My life is very, very packed. I go to school from 7 to 1:30 every single day. And then I go straight to Selena and train with her from 3 to midnight. And that's just pretty much my life.
Wow.
Being in the ring. Yes.
That is a stacked schedule, and that's a heck of a story there. In fact, you know, we had Selena Majors here on the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast right before season 2 of WOW Superheroes on Access TV began. And I remember Selena Majors growing up. I mean, she is a tough customer. She was Bambi when she first started off in the wrestling business. And folks, let me tell you, do your research. Selena Majors, tough customer, knows what she's doing out there. And the fact that she can take Stephy Slade, somebody who just said she never really played sports, didn't have an athletic background, and turn her into a literal star in a major pro wrestling company, that is just tremendous. And Also, I got to say this. Sophia Lopez, she's the world's greatest attorney. She's the greatest attorney in the universe. She's already threatened to sue me if I don't say positive things about her, so I just got to make sure I slide that in there as well. I don't want any problems from Sophia Lopez. That's right. So, wow, so you didn't have an athletic background. What are the things that you're in? You said that you go to school. What are you studying in school?
Actually in med school right now, so definitely I'm going towards the OBGYN department. And easy wording, it's pretty much pregnancies and the mommy female department. So definitely I'm huge on, providing care and love for people who need it. And it's something that I love doing. I just love helping out others and trying to find ways to solve a problem if there is a problem. And if not, definitely the pure joy of life. So that's something that I love to be a part of and what I'm studying to do, and just can't wait to start. Hopefully in the next summer I'll start my externship and be able to be around that environment as well. And it's not going to stop me from wrestling. Nothing's going to stop me from wrestling, but at the same time I want to be able to achieve other goals and dreams, and that's definitely one of them. I worked so hard, spent so many years in school. I literally dedicate my life to my family, my school, and my wrestling. That's all I live for right now.
Wow. And so, listen, Abilene Maverick, the governor's daughter, I hope you're listening here, because Steffi Slays, after she busts you up in the ring, she's going to give you some love and care. She'll pat you back up. She can break it and then fix it. So you keep it up, and we're going to get Steffi Slays, the wrestler, and the medical professional to take care of you. That's right.
Oh,
that's right.
Yes.
Now,
you gotta be careful because we have only a limited amount of hospitals here in Texas. So if you get on my bad side, I might not want to fix you, Abilene Maverick.
Talk to us about something here, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're Latina, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this is really, really interesting, and follow me here on this. I'm older than you, and I can remember being a young person and watching TV, prime time, which we call prime time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, folks. I can remember watching prime time TV, and it was very rare to see a woman of color, a Latina woman, a black and Asian woman, a woman of color on TV, starring in a series, and she's in a strong leadership role, presented in a positive way. It was very rare to see that on primetime TV for me growing up. Fast forward now to 2019, and we have someone like Steffi Slays, a Latina woman who's strong. She's standing up to bullies. She's setting goals and she's achieving it, and she's doing it without compromising her morals. She is an inspiration for others to look up to and follow. How does it feel to know that you have young people, including young Latina girls, watching you on primetime TV and saying to themselves, wow, maybe one day I can be Steffi Slays?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I still don't know how to express that kind of feeling. Like you mentioned, you, for example, growing up, not really seeing people like me on primetime television hour, I can only imagine what it was like to live in a time like that. I had never experienced anything like that. So to hear you and my grandma, my mom, other people telling me the same thing, you should feel so proud of yourself to be on prime time as a color woman. It's just such a humbling feeling, and I sometimes get very emotional about it because I can only experience it through the way how you tell the story and the way how you look at me while telling me the story. I don't have you in front of me, but I could just feel it. I could feel the emotion and your feelings towards, from your voice. So it's definitely such a great honor to know that people from the past had worked so hard to come to this point so that people like I can be represented in a positive light in front of millions of people on national TV on prime time. And the one thing that my grandma would tell me all the time is that she worked so hard throughout her whole entire life just so I can have the ability to walk my life in such a pure light. And my goal is to hopefully live up to that standard as well, so that people from the younger generation can see me and see that, wow, she's doing all of this stuff, and she has problems as well, but she's not allowing her problems to overcome her life anymore. She's allowing pure joy and love to run her life and to chase the dreams. And I definitely hope that I'm doing such a great job to encourage, people from the younger generation. Even in the older generation, there's a lot of adults who are lost and don't know who they are, and hopefully my story can touch them and they can relate and realize, wow, that's the same situation I'm in, and if she can get out of it, so can I. And it takes it to the next level to be Latina, because a lot of people throughout my whole life would tell me that I would never be able to do it. You don't have the ability to make it this far, and here I am, hustling and pushing through and not allowing any of those people define me anymore like they did in the past. I'm defining myself, and I'm standing up for who I am. And being Latina is definitely one of the main things. This month has been filled with amazing news for myself and my family. It is the month of the Latin heritage community right now, so celebration of all Latin all over America and the Latin countries. I guess one of the biggest things that I'm very proud of is my grandmother. She is 82 years old, and she finally, after being in America all of my life, I'm in my 20s, she's been in America longer than my life, and after all these years, she finally became an American citizen. And to have her here with me, and to have her experience everything that I'm doing with me, and to see me on television is such a great honor. And I get a little bit emotional about this stuff because, like you said, this is things that people would never imagine to come to. And here she is, an American citizen at an older age, but she's here and she's seeing her granddaughter on primetime television. And it's just a beautiful experience to go through.
What a tremendous family story there. Oh, my goodness. Definitely shout out to the whole family, your siblings and parents, aunts, uncles, and shout out to Grandma becoming an American citizen at 82 years old. That is unbelievable. Wow. No wonder you're so motivated and you get it done out there so well. You come from some great family there.
Yes, I do it all for them.
That is impressive. That is impressive. So tell everybody, what can we expect from Stephy Slays, from the Bully Busters? What are we going to get in season 2 of WoW Superheroes? Because you're so motivated and you're so focused on accomplishing goals. What are the main things we're going to see in season 2?
Definitely, you're going to see a lot of improvement from Kita and Stephy. We are up for the challenge. We're taking bigger opponents, quote-unquote, stronger opponents, but they don't know the strength that we're going to bring to the ring. And no matter what, we're going to be who we say we are. We are the Bully Busters, and we're not going to let anybody stand in between us and tell us that we are not worthy to be in the ring, and we're going to prove them wrong. And whether we take victories or not, we're going to show them who we are and do our best in the ring.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, folks, if you've been paying attention, they sure have been. The Bully Busters are taking WoW Superheroes by storm. Stephy, if the fans want to follow you on social media, let them know. Where can they go? Because I know one thing that you do, you definitely pop up during WoW Superheroes, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Access TV, every Saturday. A lot of times you respond to folks who are watching along the show and retweet, and there's just this great interaction, this great connection that you have with the fans. How do we keep that train going for folks who haven't connected with you yet? Where can they find you on social media?
Yes, definitely. I have my Instagram and Twitter at the same name, wow_Stephanie, STEPHANIE. And like you mentioned, I love talking with people. So please tag me, comment, show me everything about WOW, and I would love to chat with you.
I mean, I really enjoyed that interview with Steffi Slays. She's just a really cool person, very hardworking, and you can catch her, as we said, folks, every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WOW Superheroes. Just, real nice girl. She's working hard, both in pro wrestling and she's in the medical field, has a real nice family, good head on her shoulders, and she's hanging out with Keita Rush, the Bully Busters. It's the name of their tag team, and as you heard, they got some goals there, and they plan on accomplishing those goals. So good stuff there, and shout out to the whole WOW crew. Once again, folks, I love this series that we have going on where we're shining a light on women's wrestling, and really we're shining a light on strong women in general. Okay, that's what it's all about here. Let's assist folks in being in a position to tell their stories, and tell their stories in a manner that you won't hear elsewhere. Okay, I mean, the fact that someone like Steffi Slays, she got into the idea of being a woman of color, a Latina, on primetime television, when it wasn't too long ago where that was very rare to see. And now you have an entire promotion of WOW Superheroes where you can see that every week. It's just tremendous. And even talking about her family, her 82-year-old grandmother just became an American citizen. That's awesome. So it just, really enjoyed that interview, and can't wait to speak to Steffi Slays again in the future and see where she's going to go from here. That's the best part. That's pretty cool. So welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin', everybody. This is just, I'm on cloud nine. I have to tell you, I am on cloud nine. This has just been a tremendous season for pro wrestling and boxing and mixed martial arts. It's every single day there's something going on. And every single day it's just quality stuff. And we're going to definitely cover some of this stuff this week. I have a special guest in Susan Cingari, who, I'll tell you right now, she's one of the people that I go to for my MMA news, but there's a lot more to her than just that. She's an Emmy Award-winning journalist, and you're going to definitely hear her story real soon. I'm also going to discuss what's been happening this week in pro wrestling, specifically the Wednesday night war between WWE NXT and All Elite Wrestling. They have their new show, Dynamite. A lot of folks want to hear what I have to say about this, and I'm not going to disappoint. In fact, you'll have to stay tuned because I'm going to end the show with that. So, let me not waste any time because I have a lot to go over. Let's get our friend Susan Cingari on the line. Folks, you're going to enjoy this. Here we go.
Folks, as you know, I'm a person that is extremely passionate about mixed martial arts. I mean, I love MMA. Been watching it since I was a kid, and we've been fortunate enough to have legends such as Dan the Beast Severin and Ken Shamrock on the show. Just really cool stuff. One of the questions that I get often from listeners just like you out there, Duke, where do you go to stay up to date with your MMA news? And who do you watch? Who do you pay attention to? And it's such a good question that I said, you know something? Rather than just throw a name out there, let me reach out and get one of my favorites on the show to give you some information directly from the source and let you know about their career and what have you. So, without further ado, welcome to the Duke Loves Rasslin' podcast. We are talking about somebody that is legitimately just a big ball of energy, Miss Susan Cingari. How are you, Susan?
Hey, thank you so much, Duke, and what a great intro. You're making me blush over the phone over here, over the airwaves. Thank you so much for that kind and beautiful introduction.
Well, it's something else because your show on YouTube, Must Love MMA, is just so well done. I mean, first and foremost, and I'm a nerd with this stuff. from a production standpoint, you do a great job, and it has the right type of graphics and what have you in there. But also the interviews, they're so interesting and so strong. You cover MMA in a manner that definitely is more reminiscent of a news magazine, a TV news magazine point of view, which is just something that's so refreshing, and it's great to see. Talk to us about that show, Must Love MMA.
Well, it's funny. I don't really know how to do it any other way, Duke, because I come from a broadcast television news background. And when you work in broadcast TV news and you work for regular shows, regular broadcast shows, not on the internet, you really have to think about the production value is so much different. So we were taught that you can't write to video unless you have the pictures. So the classic example is, because I worked years in television news, is you don't put somebody on a live shot, so to speak, when you watch your local news. You would never go to somebody to talk about a burning building in a live shot where they say, hey, guess what? Behind me is XYZ building burning. You don't go to the live shot unless you have the pictures to go with the video. So it actually takes me a lot longer than most people to probably do my interviews because I cover every single thing I can find with video. And I actually go ahead of time looking for little tidbits on Instagram and dig deep within YouTube to find that one little nugget that will make the person stand out as an individual. When I first started working in MMA, which was about 7 years ago as a part-time person, and I took the leap from leaving regular broadcast stuff, working for Entertainment Tonight and Fox News Channel, all my friends were like, MMA is a bunch of tattooed animals, so to speak. And my mother, a Bostonian like yourself, was like, what are you going to do? You're going to go down to a gym with these people? So I really wanted to make people understand, and that's the tagline, that every fighter has a story. They're not these tattooed sort of lower class people that 7 years ago many of the people thought they were. I mean, we know that Chuck Liddell, if I'm not mistaken, has an accounting degree. Han Ghazali is a well-known person in Israel. We'll be interviewing in a few days, actually, for his fight in November. He ran a security company. Not all these people are sort of the impression that we saw. And actually, my impetus for this was, and I'm not sure which one it was, but it was Rashad versus Rampage, and they were against each other. And gosh, what is the name of that club? Dana White's going to kill us. We can't remember the name of the reality show, but it's been off the air. Help me out here.
I think you're talking about The Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter. Oh my God. Sorry, Dana. Please don't ban me from all your media in the future. Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, because that's not very cool. It just hasn't been on this year, and so I haven't watched it. We miss it. But Ultimate Fighter was on, and it was Rashad versus Rampage, and I was struck by the drastic comparison between them. You had good cop, bad cop. And I didn't know Rampage. I didn't know anything about him. But Rashad was this sort of classy, sort of good cop, and Rampage was this classy, sort of non-existent, rather bad cop. And I just knew in my heart that there was something else going on. So I pursued that, and I really want people to understand that every fighter does have a story. And when under that banner, it's a promoter, it's a trainer. I mean, these guys and gals work so hard, as you know, Duke. They don't really, not all of them succeed at the top. Many of them are working 2 jobs, training at night. Julian Lane we have an interview with him coming up. He's working out like a maniac for Bare Knuckle FC. They just work so hard, and I wanted people to understand that they're doing it for the love of the sport, which to me is the most refreshing and most wonderful experience, having come from interviewing some baseball people, which we can't really talk about on the air because I'll be banned from baseball. Some other sports people that were not as gracious about their interviews. And as you know, the MMA community, the bare knuckle community, is just, the people in it are just so wonderful. Everybody I meet, late at night when I'm working, no sleep at all, I'll get a Twitter. Somebody will say something on Twitter that says, we like your interviews, and I go, oh my God, I don't need sleep. I just need to keep on working because these are the people that love me, so I got to keep on going. So I'm super passionate about it. And I just can't say enough about how grateful, really, and honored I am to be a part of it, because I don't know what I'd be doing. It's sort of like a second life career for me. If I didn't have combat sports, I'm not sure what I'd be doing. I'd probably be really bored, and I'm not one to shop or I don't know. I just don't know. So kind of reinvented myself with it, and I'm just so grateful and honored, as I said, to be able to be a part of the community.
Well, and it's pretty unusual for somebody with your vast experience, and I know we're definitely going to dig into that. But like you said, you come from the news world where you've covered world events and other things. You've produced major shows on major networks and what have you. For you to just completely switch and go to mixed martial arts 7 years ago, and folks, let me paint a quick picture here, because I know here in Boston, our Boston City Council were literally fighting on the floor about whether or not to sanction, to allow mixed martial arts to happen in the city of Boston. And UFC in particular at the time, they were trying to get their events. They were trying to make it possible to host an event in Boston for the first time. And the president of the city council at the time, Steve Murphy, who, he's a friend of mine actually, he was very direct about the fact that he felt there was human cockfighting and there was no way it was ever going to happen in Boston and blah, 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 and all this good stuff here. That was the attitude just 7 years ago in a major city like Boston. So to see where we're at today, where you absolutely have seen UFC here in Boston and other types of mixed martial arts all over the world, it's just interesting the fact that you made that switch at that time period, which was such a pivotal time period around the nation, because attitudes were still kind of going the other way.
Right, right.
It was slowly shifting. So that was a leap of faith that you took there.
Well, it was not only a leap of faith. The whole way I got into mixed martial arts was a mistake. I mean, it's the most bizarre story. I can't remember if it was for NBC Sports or I don't remember which broadcast it was for. I was scheduled to do an interview with a woman who was based in South Florida, and she was a wrestler, a female wrestler. And we were supposed to do her interview on a Monday. And, we had hair and makeup, which is a big thing, and a 2-camera shoot, which is a lot of money. And at the last minute, her coach, which was her main coach, decided not to do the interview. I don't remember why, because it was a long time ago. But her strength and conditioning coach was a gentleman by the name of J.C. Santana, who runs an organization called the International Health and Performance Fitness Institute of Training here in Boca Raton, Florida. And this guy was on the cutting edge way before anybody else was, because he was a trainer's trainer. At the time, he had already trained all these mixed martial arts guys. In fact, at one point, Peter Belfort went back to him for strength and conditioning coaching down here, somewhere in between his switch from leaving the former Black Zillions to opening up his own gym. And Jason Santana was flying in on a Sunday night to do the interview from Chicago. And I called him, and he was getting on the plane. I said, JC, I don't have an interview for you tomorrow. He said, well, I'm already on the plane. I'm coming back just for you. And I said, what can I do to make it up to you? And he said, you can do an interview on MMA. I was like, what the F is MMA? No clue. Absolutely no clue. Didn't know what it stood for. Didn't even know what it was about. And I interviewed Cole Miller and Micah Miller, and it was a story on Micah Miller. It's somewhere in my YouTube channel really far back. And I remember standing in American Top Team, which is where they trade, saying, when Micah Miller's not pounding and grounding, or was it grounding and pounding? I didn't even know the words to the stand-up, which is a portion we do online, portion we do on camera. And Cole tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, it's grounding and pounding. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that. I didn't want to let them know. I didn't know a first thing about it. I sent the script over to J.C. Santana, who helped me write it. I didn't know anything about strength and conditioning, but I was just fascinated with the sport. I was fascinated with the work ethic. And as I mentioned earlier, I was just intrigued by the fact that these people were really working, as opposed to so many other sporting athletes that I'd covered. They were really working on getting a lot of money. And I thought, I've got to check this out. Then I was up doing an interview somewhere along the way and ended up breaking my arm, I think. I was up doing the space shuttle launch. In fact, I got to meet Walter Cronkite for Entertainment Tonight. It was the anniversary space shuttle launch. And I think I forget what happened, but I wound up falling off a riser. I had a little fracture in my right hand, and I was stuck at home, and I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't write. At that time, they didn't have voice to text like we had because it was so far back. And I started watching The Ultimate Fighter. And as they say, the rest is history. I was hook, line, and sinker, and still am. I'm just never got over the sport. The passion is still there. And you know, one of the things, too, that really still, I can't explain to people, that's so, just hugs my heart. I love the fact that the fighters honor each other, and most of them, 99% of them, will hug each other after the fight. It still is something to me that is so near and dear to my heart, because I feel like, they've got respect. And as I said, you know, I've covered a couple of Super Bowls, and used to cover spring training down here for Fox News Channel before they had Fox Sports. Some of the fighters some of the athletes in some of the other sports are just not as appreciative as the interviews. And I just, you know, the MMA community I just bullied my way in, so to speak. You know, in Spanish we say down here, you got balls, which is cojones, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. That's just my personality, and I just kind of got lucky because American Top Team is close to here, and the fighters were accessible, and I think they felt sorry for me, to tell you the truth, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I really didn't. But I spent a lot of time watching fights by myself, and I would turn Joe Rogan off, and I would try to listen to what he was saying, and I would try to learn all the words. I remember every time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as you know, there's something you never can learn. Like, I didn't know what a Peruvian necktie was. I'm still not sure I know what it is. So it's a constant learning experience for me, and I just never get bored with it. I just can't explain it. So there you go.
that is just a heck of a story, and again, it's so interesting because what did your friends and colleagues from the regular news world, how did they take you saying, hey guys, I'm going to leave this thing, Entertainment Tonight, Fox News, you know, covering sports for them, producing this show and that show, I'm going to leave that stuff and I'm going to focus on MMA right now. How did the other folks react to that?
They thought it was effing crazy. They didn't, you know, still to this day, one of my very dear friends was like, you know what, I never believed you, but you finally made it. They just thought it was crazy. I was burned out on covering news anyway. I had done so many stories. You know, I'm very proud of my involvement with a show called America's Most Wanted. The show worked. But when you're on stories like 9/11 or bombs that are exploding up in discotheques up in Orlando with what we call spot news in the industry, or stories on Anna Nicole Smith, which I was on forever with Entertainment Tonight, and oodles of hurricanes I've covered. You really have to be much like a first responder. You're on the clock. You're always ready to go. And I was really burnt out. I mean, I had my joyride, so to speak. I no longer felt the same passion for getting up in the middle of the night going to cover a hurricane. I had done it. So MMA kind of came along at the right time for me. I still do a lot of work for Entertainment Night. Some of the other shows I will run out, you know, and do some interviews for, but I just don't have the same passion for it. I think that level, when you're doing what we call spot news and breaking news, as we call it, is probably better left to people who are a little bit younger than me and still have that passion for it. And there's a lot of people in my industry that love it. I have a wonderful cameraman by the name of Tony Zimbardo, who is a former Marine, and he was the camera person that broke the story at Hurricane Katrina. You can look him up. He's the one that talked about the fact that people were living in their own disaster there at I think it was the auditorium or whatever it was during Katrina, because I was actually covering Katrina down here. He was the first to report all the horrible things that were going on at Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. He still loves it. He still loves to get up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. For me, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm watching the post-fight UFC press conference. Give me more, baby. I'll stay up for that, but I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock and go cover a national disaster. I was just burnt out.
Wow. And you know something, who can't relate to that? Who can't relate to pouring your heart and soul into whatever career you have, and especially if it's something that you have some longevity within, you went to school for this thing. this has been your life for a long period of time. And yeah, you get to the point where it's like, I need something new. I need excitement. I need to look at different faces. I need to find my passion again. So I totally understand what you're saying there. Let me ask you a question. Well, first and foremost, you mentioned Spanish. Are you Latina?
No, I'm not. And for the Spanish people in the audience, I always say the following. Mi cuerpo está italiano, which means my body is Italian. Mi corazón está latina, which means my heart is Latin. And mi cabeza está loca, which means my head is crazy. I'm a wannabe Spanish gringa. I love the language. I just love the people. I love the culture. I actually went down to Univision and Telemundo and applied as a reporter. But when it's not your first language and you're working in live television, you're a step behind. And so practice as I might, my Spanish is not grammatically correct. But there was a time I worked for People in Espanol and was able to work with them every Saturday. And, you know, it's just like anything else. Just like people tell me they don't like to do on-camera interviews, or they may have a problem doing audio interviews, or they may have a fear of public speaking. The more you do something, the more you conquer your fears, the better you are. So, the more I was able to speak it, the better I got. And being down in Miami, of course, it's really hard not to be able to speak the language. So, but I'm not grammatically correct on it. And I would love to have been able to work for Univision and Telemundo, but that mere second is a big difference if you're doing broadcast news. It shows. And my last name, for those in real Spanish, in Cuba and in Mexico, my last name means a very bad swear word, Cingari. And I don't know if I can even tell you online or on air what that means. So your viewers can go look that up, because Cingari is like, I can't say it. It's a terrible word. But some of your viewers will have a laugh on it, because it's a very bad swear word. And it's actually, I guess I could say it means to F-U-C-K in those two countries. The rest of the world, it means everything positive. But in Cuba and in Mexico, it's considered a swear word. So whenever I go down to Miami, I have to pre-qualify myself and say in Spanish, si yo significa que mi nombre, yo sé que no, what que significa mi nombre es, which is like, I know what my name means. And then I'll go into this long practice speech about how it's really not. The reason why I'm using that name is to get an interview. It's really my real name. In Italian, it means gypsy, which is what I am.
That's a heck of a conversation. but no, what I was going to ask you though is as a woman who is literally you're all in on these interviews. You do a lot of these live interviews and what have you, taped interviews. What are the differences? What are the differences for you that you've experienced in MMA as opposed to doing, you know, the regular news? Are you treated the same way? Is there any difference in access or things of that nature there?
No, I would say the MMA community is different and special in that way. You know, there's no egos involved in MMA. And I think what's important to convey to any audience is mixed martial arts is about the martial arts philosophy. So there's really no egos in it. I mean, I can say that I have had various issues, not issues, but there's been sexual discrimination. I was one of the first people in the locker room reporting in Denver in football, and I've covered spring training. The Yankees were not so easy to get along with. I don't want to trash anybody, but they were tough in spring training when I was young. I took it all in good humor, because back when I was covering sports, and actually I started as an intern at WBZ with Bobby Lobel, which will technically date me to all the viewers that are really looking things up. There weren't a lot of women in it, and I had wanted to be in sports full time, but it really wasn't anything that you could kind of break the glass ceiling. I think as we see moving forward, we see more women in it. But no, the MMA community has been really cool. I don't know if it's because maybe they feel sorry for me, because as I said, I really didn't know what I was doing. But I mean, I just have really been accepted. I can remember some of the people I've interviewed, I had no idea who they were. Last week, Mark Godbeer, and I do want to talk about this, they were going to ask me about this anyway, I really didn't know who he was. and I have such a fangirl crush on him now because he's such a great athlete. When I say a fangirl, it's not that I'm not interested in him. He has a lovely wife and 3 children, and during in one of their post-fight interviews with Valor BK, he talked about bringing a pony back to his daughter. But I didn't really know who he was beforehand. And now when I see who he is, and I think to myself, gosh, we did interviews with him, and I've reached out to him to do a post-fight bare knuckle interview. I go, wow, he's a great big fighter, and I didn't know who he was. And he's accessible, and he's willing to do an interview. And I thank Valor BK, by the way, because I feel like they brought so many different styles of fighting, and so many people that I didn't know about that kind of were up the line for bare knuckle. I mean, Ishii coming back was huge, and I think JC Lama's coming in, and Stephen Payan. He's had some bare knuckle before he was on David Feldman's card, but there were a lot of fighters that I didn't know about. I didn't know who Mo was. I didn't know. But yet they're available to you. I just think it's a different sport with a different mentality. I mean, I still have to tell fans though this. I also, before Mark Godbeer, I had a super huge fan, and I still have a super huge fangirl crush on Rashad Evans. And I was very nervous. I met him because he's the guy that got me into fighting. And I remember he's an African American man, and I'm a white person, and so I met him at a local fight, and I wanted to take a photo. And I was so nervous. My palms were sweaty. I didn't know how to use my mobile phone. I was like, oh my God, there's Rashad. It's Rashad. It's Rashad. I have to take a picture. And he said he'd take a picture, and I couldn't get the flash working. It was everything you would expect from fangirl. It was not journalist. So finally he says to me, give me that phone. I go, why? He goes, because I'm an African American man, and you're a white woman, and we need a flash. And bam, we took the phone. And now my fear is over. And it's the worst photo of me because I look like I had this horrible outfit. It's like a leopard skin dress. Like, what was I thinking? I look awful in it, but there's the photo with her shot. So now nothing matters. But I call it gives me the tingles. I will always run up to him now when I see him. I go, you're the guy that gives me the tingles. And it's not, again, I don't want the viewers, I'm not being disrespectful. He's a happily married man. No disrespect to his lovely wife and his lovely daughter, who we see down quite a bit at 365 Hard Knocks. It's, I'm a journalist, but just like everybody else, damn it, I'm a fan. And I'm just a fangirl with a clipboard that gets to ask the questions. And, I respect that. And I'm just, as I said, I'm just honored to be a part of it. I just can't say enough about the sport. And people are accessible. And I think you'll find that if fans want to go down to a gym, they can go down. They're not going to be, it's not closed. I know that, and in fact, I hope to be doing an interview with him very soon. Gabriel Gonzaga has 2 gyms in the Boston area. I bet if fans go over to Gonzaga BJJ, they can walk in and they can see the fighters training. Because the American Top Team in 365 Hard Knocks down here in South Florida and MMA Masters, you can walk in and you can see the people. Now, should the fan go up and ask barge in and ask for an interview right away? No, but in the proper setting, maybe coming out, maybe there's a chance to ask them the question. I mean, they're very giving to the fans. I think that the fighters really in this sport and in bare knuckle, which I love dearly as well, I think they value and understand that they're fighting for the fans, and the fans are part of the mix, and they're non-union, of course, so they understand the fact that fans are what make them, and they're accessible. You can find them at the gyms. I don't know what it's like all over the place. I may have now, of course, now this horde of people are going to probably be stalking all the fighters. I didn't mean to do that. Be respectful, fans. These guys are busy.
We're talking to Susan Cingari of Must Love MMA. You brought it up, so I got to jump right into this here. Bare knuckle fighting, and let me go back. I'd say about right around 6 or 7 years ago, I noticed that Hall of Fame legend Ken Shamrock, he was talking about the desire to start a bare knuckle fighting promotion, and how bare knuckle was really the purest form of MMA, and get rid of the gloves, and the skill is different, and it would be something that he felt would really catch on. Fast forward now to this year, where he and his partners got everything together, and as you pointed out, got their fighters together, and they put on this Valor Bare Knuckle company in their first event, Valor Bare Knuckle 1. tell us about your impression overall of the event, and especially someone like yourself who you've studied MMA, you've interviewed so many different people, and you're passionate not only about MMA but bare knuckle fighting. What did you think of the presentation that Valor Bare Knuckle provided?
I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I love the pit. I love that idea of an open sort of arena there. I love the fights. I thought they were really interesting. I think the pit itself, you know, I wasn't sure what it looked like till we saw it. I didn't have any information on it myself. I saw it just as the fans saw it the night before we had a picture of it. I thought at first it looked like a donut, so I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out. But I thought the pit was really interesting, and I thought the fights were really interesting. You know, I just think it's just a one-punch knockout thing. And as Godbeer mentioned in one of the interviews we did with him ahead of time, you know, it's a different sport. And I'm now, you know, the same way I'm crazy about MMA, I'm even more crazy about bare knuckle because it is so pure and it is so, I guess, gritty and it is so just gloves off, you know. And actually bare knuckle, as you know, came from England, where there's quite a number of promotions over there, including BKB16 and UBAT, that have been doing it for a while. And they have some terrific fighters over there. I like it because it reminds me of one of my other favorite fighters. I just like it because it reminds me of Michael Bisping. And Michael Bisping is kind of that in your face, and Brad Pickett too. I don't give an F. I'm just gonna kick your butt, I'm just going to fight you, and I'm just going to win the fight. So I think it's, in effect, it's one of the purest forms of combat. It is different, though. I mean, when I covered bare knuckle FC7 and Biloxi, a lot of the fighters, and this is Feldman's group, a lot of the fighters had injuries because the fights went on longer. The fight with Valor didn't go on as long because he had some really big heavyweight and tournament people that had some very powerful punches. But some of the lighter weight fighters in some of the sports, like Jim Allers and especially the girls fight, Christine Feria, really hurt her hands very badly. And you'll see their knuckles will come out. Melvin Gillard, his hand, we did an after-fight interview. I thought I could have sworn at any moment he's going to have a compression fracture in his hand. His hand was so swollen after the fight. I went up to him and I was like, well, Melvin, you promised me an interview, but will you do it? And he was in really bad pain, and props off to him because his hand was swollen. So the injuries are a little different. Personally, if I could do anything, if I could relive my life over, I would go back and I would be in boxing and bare knuckle. But it's just too damn expensive to get my face redone, so I gotta stick with reporting on it. But I like boxing. I really like boxing. And, a shout out to my coach friend, Billy Padden, who trains Greg Hardy, cause he promised me he'd train me in boxing Philly style. I haven't made it down to the gym. It would be gloves on, but I like it. I really like it. I think it's a cool new sport, and I'm thrilled that Valor is over here, and I'm thrilled that Bare Knuckle FC is over here, and there was also, another promotion with, Backyard Brawls, which started all down here. Actually, Jorge Masvidal and Alex Caceres came with Dada 5000, and they were the original Backyard Brawls down here. There's a lot of video on them. And Dada 5000 is a new movie coming out that will kind of showcase that on, coming up on Netflix. And you'll see that these Backyard Brawls, which he's a pioneer in, were really just two people kind of working their differences out because they just wanted to settle the score. And as we look back in history, that's kind of what James Sullivan was doing it. It was a gloves off gentleman's fight. They were just settling the score. So to me, it's a fascinating new sport, one that I'm honored to be involved in, and one I'm continuing to follow and learn new terminology because toe the line wasn't anything I heard before, and some of the other words and that go along with bare knuckle. It's a whole new, and it keeps me fresh. It's a whole new language I'm learning about the bare knuckle rules and the bare knuckle punches and the strategy that goes down with it.
Well, and it's funny because I believe it was you had an interview with Ishe Smith after his fight with Valor, and he said exactly what you just said. He talked about the fact that his knuckles were swollen. And
right.
Here's a guy who is a boxer. You know, here's a guy who's a very experienced boxer, and he's fought all over the place. for him to do this bare knuckle fighting. He said he enjoyed it. He said, but yeah, it's definitely different. My knuckles are swollen. And he had a fairly easy time during his fight with his skin and what have you there. But for a boxer to point that fact out and saying that when you wear gloves, you don't feel anything when you hit somebody, this bare knuckle stuff, you feel everything.
Yeah, it's interesting because I did an interview with Beck Rawlings when she first started bare knuckle, and she was doing something called palming. I'd never heard of it. And it's basically conditioning your hands for these blows. Stephen Pyan, we did a pre-interview with him. It's somewhere on my YouTube channel as well. He was hitting like these rails. I don't even know what they would be called. They were like metal rails to condition his hand. So it is a whole different thing. And it's different because with the gloves on, depending on the size of the gloves, you don't feel it. But as EJ pointed out, it is a much more, I think it's a much more dangerous sport in the fact that, once your hand is broken, Uriah Faber, who I love, broke his hand many years ago to fight, kept on punching. It's painful. I mean, I can't imagine what the adrenaline's going through these people's heads. And many of the fighters in our fight at Bare Knuckle FC in Biloxi, many of the fighters, both male and female, broke their hands. They continued punching. So hats off to any of the fighters in Bare Knuckle because, it's painful, as Ishii said. It's a whole different sport. The injuries are, I think, much more quickly sustained because there is nothing to protect you, and you can get your face banged up a little bit more quickly, and your hands. And the hands, I think, are the weapons you need. And if you've got a broken hand, God, I don't know how the heck they're fighting through it, but we saw Uriah do it, and we've seen many of the fighters just, hats off to them, both the bare knuckle fighters and also the MMA fighters that punch their way through because, gosh, I don't know how they do it. It's got to be the adrenaline.
Folks, just listen to her talk, and you can see exactly why Susan Cingari is legitimately one of the main people that I go to keep up to date with my MMA news, just because not only are you great at interviews, but you're great at explaining what's going on here, painting the picture even further. So it's awesome. I want to ask you, because, again, you had this other career way before this MMA stuff. You've actually won various awards, including an Emmy. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about being an award-winning journalist and what have you here.
Well, I got into television at a really young age. And probably the first time I'm ever going to reveal this, so you'll be the first one to hear it, because it will definitely reveal my true age, which I'm very sensitive about because this sport is all about young people. But I was a kid, and I would come from Connecticut, and I got to stay up late, and Eyewitness News was on the air. I think I was like 10 or 11, maybe I was 9, and I got to stay up late and watch Eyewitness News, which was a big local newscast in the New York area. And Geraldo Rivera was doing a story on Willowbrook. I remember the nightgown I wore because it was the 11 o'clock news. It was like, wow, I got to stay up. And he did a story about how these children at a state-run mental institution were sleeping in their own feces. And I was like, wow, I can change the world too and be just like him. I've actually had a chance to work next to him on various hurricanes along the way. And I still feel he's one of the most wonderful journalists because he was an investigative journalist. But I knew at like 9 or 10 that I wanted to be in television. And I think that gave me a head start because at 12, I talked my way into a radio show for the summer, and I had to go back to school in the fall, and I remember the radio director saying to me, "What? You're not really? You're not 16?" And my mother used to drop me off way far away so I could walk over there. But I just, I've been in television news covering various stuff, hurricanes and America's Most Wanted and trials. The beauty of being a freelancer in Florida and working for so many different shows, and also at the time where so many of the sort of stories came out of. We had William Kennedy Smith, and we had hurricanes, and we had basically, and sadly, or maybe not so sadly for my career as a freelancer, kind of every scandal, trial, hurricane, drama kind of starts and ends in Florida. When Current Affair was in the mix, they had 2 bureaus, South Florida, and Texas. And that was because so many of the stories that were sort of tabloid related came from here. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of adapt and change with different shows. And I've covered just about everything. I've covered, entertainment, because at one point South Florida had a tax thing where we had so many shows down here. We had movies. We had, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name. David Caruso. Oh, you're going to hate me, David. I can't remember. The Forensic Files was down here. So many of the shows were down here. Bad Boys was down here. Tom Cruise did his Rockstar show down here. So we had a various amount of different shows. So I was never bored because I was always kind of in the mix. If I wasn't ready to cover a hurricane, I was chasing a criminal, America's Most Wanted. If I was working for Fox News Channel, I was covering a burning building or maybe something else. And then, of course, I worked a lot and I did a lot of medical reporting for Fox. So I kind of had a very blessed career because I was never on the same story every day. So it kept me kind of on my toes and also the opportunity to really work with a lot of different people in a lot of different situations.
Well, and it's interesting because, again, you had all of that variety and you were gaining so much experience, and then you win an Emmy. I mean, legitimately, your peers, you're being recognized as excellence in the field. How did that feel? How did it feel to gain that type of acknowledgement?
Oh, it's always great to win an Emmy. I actually won my Emmys at a station in Colorado. Listen, those are just, it's like you're only as good as your last fight, right? And you hear the fighters say that. You're only as good as your last broadcast. They mean really nothing to me. And, people will say you've had such a storified and glorified career. You've interviewed this person and that person. At the end of the day, you're only as good as your last fight, your last interview, your last story, your last of everything. So to me, it's just, it's great, it's wonderful, but, behind every great reporter is a team of people. I don't do this alone. I have editors that edit my video, and I love them. I have cameramen that are amazing. One of the things that's different now as we move forward is that I came up at a time where there were people that you weren't a multimedia journalist. You didn't do everything. You had a camera person and you had an editor and you had an audio person with you. As things have progressed and as things are live on Facebook and things are live on YouTube, I've had to kind of relearn all the technical stuff over again. I did, by the way, and props to you. I did try to audio edit. I don't know how you folks do it. I wanted to make my voice lower. I wanted to make it higher. I just gave up on it. So audio editing was never my thing. And I do know how to video edit quite a little bit. But I do have a team behind me. And I think, I think it's important to understand that behind most of your broadcast people, there are more than one person in the mix. And I'm so grateful to have those people, including my hair and makeup artist, who make me look young, thin, and tan. And that's a damn challenge as I get older in the industry.
Well, listen, you definitely check all of those boxes very well. So whatever. If it's an effort that is a team effort, then great job, everybody, including yourself, because it works. I can't imagine that your YouTube channel wouldn't be as popular as it is unless you were looking as fabulous as you look all the time. So
it takes a team for that. Believe me, it takes a makeup and hair team. No lies.
So you're a Renaissance woman. You've, like you said, you've done stuff with Fox News. You've done stuff with America's Most Wanted, Entertainment Tonight. You got the MMA thing going. What's next? And come on, you can give us the inside scoop here.
I will give you the inside scoop. It's funny because I look ahead and I say to myself, what am I going to do when I'm just too old and tired or fat to not be on camera anymore? And there's a time where that happens, not all of us can be beauty stars 10 years from now. I'm sticking with MMA and bare knuckle. I plan to this is it for me. Some people get divorced and get married. Some people have a change of life baby. I'm in this hook, line, and sinker. You know, folks, I do, and I want to share this. I offer free media training on Sunday to anybody in the combat sports industry, whether you're a trainer, whether you're an up-and-coming MMA or bare-knuckle fighter. This is my gift back, and you just have to find me on Skype at Susan Cingari and follow me and DM me, and I'll do it. I would like to, moving forward, I'd like to, first off, I'd be honored if I could manage fighters. I don't know if I'm that qualified to do it. I think I can pick talent, but I would be honored to be able to manage fighters. I'll definitely go into PR and marketing. As I mentioned, helping the fighters is important. You know, we all can't be a Conor McGregor. We all can't be a Chael Sonnen, and I adore Chael, by the way. I think he's the bomb, and thank you so many times for your interviews. We can all be good on camera, and the person that has the most ability to mesmerize the audience, I think, is the fighter that is a person that will continue to be loved. So I would like to go into managing or PR or both. I'm sticking with the game for a long time. You know, I wouldn't mind moving forward to be involved in the promotion of the sport. Don't count me out. A couple of years from now, you know, you'll see my name as a bare knuckle promoter. I'm not qualified for MMA, but bare knuckle is growing. And I do want to be involved in the sport. So kind of the sky's the limit for me. I just feel like I'm in it. I can't live without it. And I'm just going to continue with it. And again, I just want to say thanks to everybody in the fight community for allowing me to be a part of it.
So tell everyone out there, please, if they want to get more Susan Cingari in their life, plug all your stuff. How can they find your multitude of great things, including your awesome website, which has your credentials, it talks about all the great people. You've interviewed presidents and athletes and everybody under the sun. Give everybody the information. How can they find Susan Cingari out there?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I monitor myself. I answer. Even though it could be 11 to 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll see me. I monitor my Twitter myself. So if you follow me at Susan Cingari, you're going to hear from me. That's at Susan Cingari on Twitter, SusanCingari. I also make a real effort to answer everybody personally on my YouTube channel, which is Susan Cingari MMA. My Instagram is also Susan Cingari MMA. We are not Facebookers. We can't be everywhere. We're trying. That's coming up. So if you catch me on my Facebook page, Must Love MMA, you may not hear right back from me right away. And then the website at www.mustlovemma.com. We do monitor that. I do have an email where people can reach me as well. It's info@mustlovemma.com, where we monitor that. But I'm pretty accessible. You know, I work like 18 hours a day. It's a labor of love. You can really find me if you really want to find me. You know, I'm around.
Her name is Susan Cingari. Like I said, she is one of my go-to people for the latest in MMA news. Susan, can we have you back sometime in the future?
You absolutely can, and I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of this. I had so much fun. I really did. I can't wait to do it again.
Like I said, that's Susan Cingari. I mean, she is just so amazing. I mean, really someone who has had a stellar career. She's worn so many different hats, you know, as a journalist and someone who's interviewed so many folks, and producer, creator of content, and she doesn't stop, man. She continues to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And one of the things that I like about Susan is that she understands when it's time to make changes. She doesn't stick around too long in any one place. She knows when it's time to, all right, we got to kick it to the next gear. We got to do this next thing. We got to do this next thing. And she's already thinking about what happens when she can't appear on camera as much anymore. You know, let's get back to focusing on some more behind the scenes stuff. So, you know, audio stuff specifically, writing more, just really, she's a sharp one. She's a sharp one. So please, I hope everyone checks out her Must Love MMA website and the YouTube channel. Definitely check out Susan on Facebook and Twitter. The Twitter is definitely more active, and the Instagram, you'll get some good stuff out of that. So definitely check her out. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I am going to dig right in. I'm going to talk about this Wednesday night war that's going on between WWE NXT and All Elite Wrestling, their Dynamite program. Stay tuned. It's coming up next.
Hi, this is Earl Oliver from Solely Finish Wrestling.
This is Raj Giri with WrestlingInc.com.
This is Sean Reed, boxing writer and undercover low-key wrestling fan. And you're listening to Duke Loves Wrestling. Woo!
All right, your wait is over. We can just jump right into this Wednesday night war. So again, every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're receiving two pro wrestling programs going on at the same time, right? We're talking about WWE NXT, 2 hours live, USA Network. And then we have All Elite Wrestling, their new show called Dynamite, which is on TNT. Once again, 2 hours live, TNT. All of it is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I got to tell you, this has been tremendous. I mean, you know, I'm 24 hours removed from what happened last night, and it was really historic and it was fun. You know, I believe that both companies did a great job. There are things that I liked and disliked from both programs, but overall, I was happy. You know, this is just the wrestling fans win when we have stuff like this. When we have companies pushing each other to put out their best efforts, so to speak. You know, and let me start off with AEW Dynamite because I just want to say in particular, I know a lot of folks are talking about the television ratings and AEW actually. Allegedly, they had more people watch their program than those who watched NXT. And there's a lot of celebration around that. You know, it's definitely a major win for them if that's true. Allegedly, they got about 1.4 million viewers or something like that, whereas NXT, they had about 900,000 viewers. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. You know that if you listen to this show, and I've had different folks on, including Tony Maglio of The Wrap, we've gone over the concept of television ratings and whether or not they're accurate, therefore how important are they really in the television industry. So who knows? Who knows what the truth is in that? I can tell you from experience talking to you, the listeners of Duke Loves Wrestling, and you know, I call you my wrestling crew. A lot of you watched AEW live because it was something new, something fresh. You watched that live and you DVR'd NXT. And who knows when you're actually going to watch NXT? Did you watch it directly after? You stayed up and do that? Or did you watch it the next day, 2 days later? Who knows? But that's important because that's going to affect the overall rating as well. I'm going to tell you right now, the majority of you who had intentions of watching both programs, that's what you told me. You told me you were going to watch the new thing live to see how it does, and you'll go back to NXT. And we know that NXT is being shown on the WWE Network Thursday, right? The next day, which is today. So I almost feel like NXT is set up to not necessarily deliver what some would say, oh, this is the best rating going on. There's some factors in there that can affect that. And we know, again, how accurate is this stuff? Who knows? Here's what I do know. WWE, when you watch NXT and you see the brands that are advertising during NXT, some top-notch brands. And we know that they're going to be making a lot of money, right? It's like $30 million a year or something like that. That's the value of the NXT program. I'm still waiting on the information on AEW Dynamite, how much money that's expected to take in each year, but we know that's what NXT is going to take in. That's a done deal, right? So this whole ratings thing, you know, just keep it in perspective, especially in terms of business. Now, again, I give AEW credit. They were trending number one online. They were number one in Google searches. They kicked WWE NXT's butt in that regard. it's fresh, it's new. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me, to be honest with you. I expected to see that. I enjoyed some things with Dynamite. I enjoyed the commentary, number one. I thought Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, they're just tremendous. Love those guys. They're the best. Soundtrack of my wrestling life. Excalibur, he held his own. He's definitely improving, which is great. Great to hear. The production of AEW, just the visual aspect of everything was very, very good. It was lit up. It was beautiful to see. Very, very nice. Whoever's the production folks, are doing a great job. Keep that up, please. The referees did a great job. I enjoyed what they were doing. They didn't take away from the matches. I felt they enhanced the matches. But there were some things I didn't like. I felt they were a little short on in-ring wrestling content. Definitely felt they could have delivered more of that. I didn't like the fact that there was only one women's match. That didn't make any sense to me. You have a 2-hour program. You couldn't fit at least 2 women's matches in there? What's going on here? But you're going to take women's wrestling seriously, though, right? And it's going to be equal, right? Stop that. So I was a little disappointed in that. I didn't like all the interference going on in the matches as well. I felt that we should have had more straight matches that you just, definitive. All this other extra hokey stuff didn't make any sense to me. For instance, in the main event, Johnny Moxley, the former Dean Ambrose, he attacked Kenny Omega. That should have been an automatic disqualification. Should have been an automatic disqualification, and that was not the case, which I was very disappointed about. Okay, so whatever. I think these are things that can be solved. I just hope that AEW gets to a place where they're delivering what they're marketing. Specifically, we need more women's content. And we need it on the television program every week. So that's number one. And number two, I want to see some men of color in one of the top 6 positions challenging, battling for the AEW championship. We still don't see that. Cody Rhodes is the number 1 contender now. Oh, great. Okay, I don't even know how that happened. Whatever. We still don't see this thing here. And again, they're supposed to be this diverse company. Where was Sonny Kiss last night? I don't know. So, some things they can work on, and it can be fixed. It's not the end of the world yet. It can be solved, but I don't know what you're waiting for, AEW. Just come on, Make your wrestling content and deliver on what you market to the degree that your commentary, that your referee work, that your production value is. Because all that stuff is top notch. It's whoever's building everything else. They're not making any sense. I don't know what you're doing with Nyla Rose. You buried her, which is silly. So that's a whole other story. But overall, though, I think that for a startup, they did a great job. And they have a bright future. They just need to make some major adjustments here. And don't wait. Let's just do it now. Do it now. So, moving on to NXT, I really enjoyed that program. I thought that was just top notch, as NXT traditionally is. I can tell you, I'm watching the beginning of the show, and what do I see? I see a wrestling match, and I don't see a lot of fluff, a lot of wasted time. They just jump right into it, and it's the championship match. NXT Championship. So you're talking about Adam Cole and the Bro. They get in the ring and they just get it going. And it was a great match. Matt Riddle really showed some stuff there. And comparing that to Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes, Sammy comes out with a panda on his head. I mean, I don't know what the hell that was. It was just hard for me to compare the two and not feel that NXT was a heck of a lot more serious, because they were giving me solid wrestling content. And one of the things that I noticed as well is that there was more wrestling content. The actual wrestling was happening for a longer period of time in the ring. They had 2 women's matches, and they were bust-ass good matches. I'm a little disappointed that the women didn't close the show. I did feel that the NXT Women's Championship should have been the main event. But I will say that that tag team match that was the main event was a damn good match in its own right. Street Profits versus Undisputed Era. That was just, I mean, damn, that was good. Good stuff, man. So, again, I didn't like, I feel like the women should have still gone last. I feel like that should have been the main event. That would have been a great statement to make. And those ladies had a great match anyway. Shayna Baszler, she took on Candice LeRae, and Baszler ended up winning in the end. But it told a good story. It was a great match, and just, I enjoyed it. It's good stuff. And Io Shirai, she took on Mia Yim, and those two had a damn good match too. Mia Yim is back because her last outing before this was not very good, and she completely flipped that around and turned out a Mia Yim performance, which was very refreshing to see. So, NXT is NXT, man. They're the best. They're probably the best wrestling content you're going to see anywhere. Just really, really solid wrestling content. Not a lot of fluff. Not a lot of, silly backstage skit storyline crap. Just they're giving you solid wrestling. Some folks were complaining that they felt that it was a little too dark, and I don't necessarily disagree. They could add some more lighting to the mix, just to see the crowd a little better, see the ring a little better. But it's a style thing. Some people like the dark, block out the crowd a little bit, focus a little bit more on the ring. Who knows? I like the atmosphere. I can go either way, but I do like the NXT atmosphere. It is pretty cool. Old school style, I feel like NXT won that battle last night. They delivered much better wrestling content, which they should. That's not a surprise. And I don't think anyone should rest on their laurels in that regard. They should. They've been around longer. They're more established. It's going to be interesting to see what AEW does going forward, because I don't know. I don't know if you're going to maintain everyone's interest when that's the best you can do with your wrestling content. You got to do better. NXT, they just got to stay the course. Plain and simple. They just got to stay the course. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the plan is. So, overall, though, I was very happy, very satisfied. Raw was amazing, too. Monday Night Raw, Bobby Lashley comes out with Lana to end the night, with Rusev standing in the ring, and Lashley and Lana are making out. And a lot of folks were upset about that. That got over 1 million views in less than 9 hours. So, take that. It's like the 24/7 championship all over again. It's like, dude, whatever generates the interest, within a PG environment, mind you, just get it done. I'm with it. So, Bobby Lashley's Mr. Steal Your Girl. It's the way it is, Jack. That was pretty crazy, And it's interesting because, folks, that this show comes out on Thursday, which means that you're going to have to wait a week for my SmackDown review, because SmackDown will now be on Friday, and The Rock is going to be on SmackDown coming up. So it's going to be crazy. SmackDown on Fox. So, overall, it is great to be a wrestling fan. Next week, the NWA, they're airing their own program, which is going to be on YouTube and Facebook. It's going to be on Facebook as well, which is pretty crazy. 6:05 Eastern Standard Time, 6:05 p.m. So, that'll be fun. I've already seen some things that are happening. The Rock and Roll Express, they won the Tag Team Championships for like the 8th or 9th time. That's pretty awesome. Thunder Rosa, she's in there. She attacked the NWA Women's Champion, Allison Kay. It's pretty awesome. So there's a lot of cool things going on with the NWA as well. And WoW Superheroes and New Japan Pro Wrestling, they're on Access TV Saturday nights. It's pretty cool. Impact, they're on Tuesdays. I was a little disappointed with you, Impact. They showed a pay-per-view. They showed a pay-per-view from earlier this year, from January. That was their first show on Access TV. They're building up to their major debut, where I guess they're going to get it right, which is going to be later in October. But goodness gracious, some of those people on that pay-per-view are not even in the company anymore. Come on. What are we doing? Impact. Stop that. Just show the past few weeks of Impact Wrestling television so everybody can get caught up. You don't have to. It's not rocket science. Come on. What are you doing? But they'll get it together. I have faith. I think Impact is going to be a major player in this wrestling war that we have going on overall. I think they're going to turn some heads, man. I really do. I really do. So, overall, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. If you're a wrestling fan in 2019, it is like being back. I feel like we've been transported back to 1986, 1987, when wrestling was on every day of the week. And that's the way it is now on network television. It's awesome. So, congratulations to everybody. Once again, AEW, I'm proud of you. Just please make those adjustments. That's all I ask. Just make those adjustments. But I'm proud of you. And like I told you, folks, those fake accounts, of course, they were talking trash to me during AEW the whole time. Go to the Duke Loves Wrestling Twitter page. You'll see it clear as day. They were running their mouth. Whatever. Twitter finger warriors. Probably Cody and his crew, allegedly. That's what I'm saying. It's got to be AEW employee or somebody affiliated with them. Just can't get enough. They got to come after the Duke whenever they have something going on. Whatever. It is what it is. But I still say NXT had the best wrestling program of that whole Wednesday night deal there. But I digress. Anyway, folks, listen, I want to thank my guests for joining us this week. Steffi Slays, Susan Cingari. Oh, she was fantastic. Next week, I got some great guests lined up as well. This train doesn't stop, man. I'm telling you, we're going to keep this going, bringing you the best content possible, interviews that you won't hear anywhere else, information you won't hear anywhere else. That's what it's all about here on the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. So listen, I'm signing off now. Join us next week. Until then, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. And I want to let my man, one of the voices of AEW, Mr. Tony Schiavone, take us away. Bye-bye, everybody.
Mr. Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.